Okay, somebody sent a video to me now. I want to say thank you because I really enjoyed it. And it's, you don't need to sign a piece of paper to not be property of the state. And that's absolutely true. And apparently there's a scam for people to sign papers saying that they're sovereigns. And pay something for it. You can do that with your own society. Now, paying dues to a group, say I formed a motorcycle club and I called us the Sovereign Lords of the Road or something like that. Lords and Ladies of the Road. Say I did that and I wanted to take in money for that society to administrate certain things, like I wanted everyone to have a copy of our laws and bylaws. I wanted everyone to have an identification card. I wanted us all to wear a jacket at certain meetings. I wanted on that jacket to have the colors or something like our name. So I would gather from them. But first I would work up the other things to form my little society within the society. And you can do that yourself. Before you give money to another individual, consider yourself forming your society within a society and realize how you do that. Go and look up what it takes to start a club. Okay? You can talk to many clubs and they will tell you how to form clubs and so on and so forth. It's not very difficult, and I don't know why they have to follow such stringent rules when I can just say, hey, we're a club. You know? It's the wild world we're living in where everything has to be so anal retentive to the 12th power times pi, because apparently someone feels like human beings don't have enough intellectual angst to understand things. So they have to rule us through so many different mechanisms. It's unbelievable. But going back to this, not to be state property, and these people taking money from other people to make that statement, you can do like I did. I created an article many years ago when I was in protest in Greece, and I said, you know, what if the premise is that we all of humanity have been rendered slaves? And the only distinction are the levels of privileges given that separate us. But we're all registered in the same system and assigned value by a birth certificate. Now, this is the root document as far as I'm concerned. This is a birth certificate of live birth. And then I have a birth registration form because this certificate of live birth went to form this root document. And this root document, I go to a number and I can go to the stock markets, and I did many years ago and looked it up, and it doesn't have that value now, austerity, collapse and austerity, but it used to command around 350,000. I benefited from that. How? If I went to institutions to go to school, they could look at that and say, oh, we can increase her value by allowing her in school. I get to pay for that privilege, by the way, but the government could give me some loans because they actually turned this number into a derivative. Well, a bond first, and then they bundled the bonds up in categories, and they used them for economical sway. Why does that matter? GDP in some cases, the most powerful countries have more sway in global forums such as the UN and so on and so forth. Comparative to China, America had far more delegations inside the UN than the Chinese because we were far more powerful and rich. And our allies. Sorry about that, but again, our allies, by the way, if you research that in the UN, all had central federal banking system, which is federal in name only. In any case, so you don't need to pay anyone for that. You can join a group like a sovereign group or a Freeman Society or a Sovereign Society, and you can pay their dues and you can live within that society. You can make your own identification card. I have made my own. Why not? You know, I adhere to certain philosophies like common law jurisdiction supersedes all other laws because it's based in Christian laws, and Christian law supersedes all man-made laws. I can actually make those arguments because I studied the difference between maritime law, which is ownership laws, and common law jurisdiction. Now, I filed this suit against the federal central banking system, the Federal Reserve Bank and holding company, because they created the United States of America Incorporated. You see, I was born in the Republic of the United States of America, and there's a huge difference, and you will just have to look that up to know why the nuance is there and why it makes a difference. I totally agree, and I really like your video. I would hope people would see my article, which is called it's actually on an educational thing as well. I don't know who's using it for an educational tool or whatever. The first weapon of choice is slavery laws, and that's at a place called theperilsea.com. And it's like a parody, you know. What if you found out certain facts about your existence and your philosophy is parallel to everything that's happening in the world and society today? How could you combat that? So, class action lawsuit, basically. I'd love to get 300 million people involved with this, but don't. If they're awake, it's wonderful. If they're not, it's sad. So, one Enslaved by a Birth Certificate actually is a clip on YouTube. You can see that. Or you could actually go and see Slavery by Consent. You can actually look up your registration form, and there is a birth certificate bond, how to look up your birth certificate on the internet. That's a YouTube video if they haven't taken it down. Some they have. Alfred Adask actually I watched him, and I found that Black's Law Dictionary really describes the difference between common law and maritime law. Some people just put law in one category, but there are various. There's common law, maritime law, property law, there's civil law, criminal law. So a lot of people just clump them all together. Actually, there's a reason why they're separated. There's a film called In Time. In the future, I believe there won't be any currency exchanged between individuals and businesses. And In Time had an interesting premise that they equate your life to some sort of credit system. And according to my number, they would assign me the amount of value in a chip. And the chip would actually say how many minutes, days, hours, months I would be allowed to live. And if I were squandering my credits, that was taking away minutes from my life because I'm consuming and sucking off the life of the planet, that once I've used up those credits, I die. You know. You wouldn't see very many old people in our society today if you did that. You'd see a lot of people just burning those credits up. They do a weekend in Vegas, and that's it. Click, they would turn off. You know, I think a lot of people would do something like that. You know, no. In any case, see the film In Time. I like the premise of this. I like the future. Okay, it doesn't paint a very nice future, but it also poses this philosophical question that I like, morality and philosophical, about this sort of future. I do believe that we're going to go to a Bitcoin or this sort of digital currency. I do see that nations are running up such mega debts that they would assign to the human population's amount of debt. You know, I think all the government should be, you know, because they ran up the debt, they should get the most debt burden. Except they'll distribute it evenly because that's what, you know, we were attempting to make everybody equal, so we have to share the burden equally. No, you created this extraordinary burden. No. I think a lot of people are waking up to the corruption in high places, but I'm not going to go into it. Also, there is a documentary, if it hasn't been turned, it's America, Freedom to Fascism. And very good film. The truth is out there. Somebody sent me that. I just want to say that I enjoyed your video, and you're absolutely right. Do not pay an individual, if you wish to pay a society that you join, dues to help administrate the bylaws and stuff of that particular group, and to benefit from being in that group. I say do so. But if you want to pay individuals to register you with a government that has you already enslaved, you want to be emancipated, you can do that yourself as well. You can emancipate yourself. And I encourage you to look it up. But you're still going to be living within this society. You're a society within a society, even if it's a society of one. And do I like what I see and what's happening in the world right now? No, I don't. Have I made my statements and my parodies? Yes, I have. Have I studied and come to certain conclusions? Most definitely. Will I do something about it? I sent a copy of it to the White House. I've sent copies of it around the world. I'm asking people to join me in a class action suit. But nobody wants to. Nobody has the time because they're just hoping if they grind enough on the daily wheel that they will not have to face it. But the collapse is here, and it's like a collapse in slow motion. It's like taking the Twin Towers and watching the Twin Towers in freeze frame. Do you know how long it is to watch it from the first hit to the second hit to the smoke in the air to the billowing flames and all of that, and to watch the first one in slow motion? I mean, does anybody remember how long that took? I mean, that's what we're watching, the collapse since then to now. People want to pretend that it had nothing to do with what's happening now. It has everything to do with what's happening now. And I just encourage people to realize that unlawful war against nations is wrong. And boy, I've said far more than I wanted to say about the entire subject. I just wanted to thank you for your video. And I appreciate you warning people because they shouldn't pay other people unless they want to join a club or society or one of these groups. You know, the Freeman Society or the Sovereign Society movements. I don't mind that. I don't mind paying dues or fees for benefit given. I just don't like them to turn around and point a gun at me and demand my money, which is what seems to happen when you're in this society. So, thanks.